I have converted 3 fouetted Bloat-Drones recently, and in this video I want to finish them, but first of all we have to start with the bases, so let's go! I'm using this clear adhesive here, this clear glue on the base. So what I do is just spread it around and then spread it with a toothpick. And then I add some slate of my big tub of slate here. And I don't want to go too crazy. A couple of flat pieces. And then I would just scatter a few smaller pieces around. Take my tweezers and I place them whenever they are not where I want them to be. Maybe some other smaller pieces. I think that looks pretty good. And then I take my sand, dump it in there. And then I see where I've missed a spot here or there. Take some more glue and then I spread some there and then add some sand there and that's it. And then I add some, while the stuff is still drying, I'll probably add some skulls here and there as well. Because it's 40k, you know. Wherever I don't like sand, like let's say here, I don't like it, I can brush it off while it's still wet. Or on the edge of the base, I can just wipe it off with my finger while it's still wet. If it's dry, then it's a little bit more of a hassle, but you can still do it while it's dried. And then I take my trusty Citadel skull kit and maybe 3 or 4 of those skulls, some with jaws, some without jaws. And there's a little trick to get more out of your skulls, is to put some blue tack on the table, then put the skull in it, and then you cut it in the middle like this. And that blue tack keeps it from flying away. And then you have 2 skulls for the price of 1. Ain't that a good rate for Games Workshop stuff? And then I will just add some super glue somewhere like this. And then I just spike the skull with my knife and then put it down wherever I want it. Yeah, that's pretty good. And then maybe around here is the other half. And then I want one with a jaw with the jaw still attached. So I clean that up. Okay. Put it in some blue tack, and I cut the base of the skull at an angle. That does not give me a rate of 2:1, unfortunately, because this looks just, the back half just doesn't look like the skull at all. Better tell what it is. Maybe you can use it for something else, but I don't think so. So just chuck it in the bits box and forget about it. And then, yeah, maybe like here is a good spot. So spike it with my knife, push it in while it's still wet. It looks like it's buried in the ground. Yeah, that's pretty much how I do my bases. Add some more skulls because it's 40k, so you have to make sure that people understand that it is 40k, so I have to at least 5 skulls, right? Yeah, the bases are almost dry. I can soon go to priming them. There you go. 3 beautiful little drones. There they are, my 3 Bloat-Drones. I've masked the bases off here because I've sprayed the bases and the bottom of the miniature is black. Ah, come on. Okay, so You can see that they are darker from the bottom there, and the base edge is also black, because I hate it when it is sprayed in another color. And then when something rubs off, you can see the underneath the other color you've sprayed on it. I mean, the spray coat is not that even, but it's okay. Okay, my first step is to dry brush with Underhive Ash to give it a little bit more visual interest on the green parts here, the plate here, and this is gonna be green. And I think also this rod here might be green as well. I just leave it like that. So I take some Underhive Ash, and then I brush most of it off on my piece of paper here, and then I will do a dry brush, but it's gonna be a little bit more, there's gonna be more paint on the dry brush than you might be used to. I'll go a little bit stronger with the contrast on the top here, and it's a pretty subtle difference between the Death Guard green and the Underhive Ash here, but that gives it a little bit more visual interest, and I can even stipple something on here, and on these parts up here I will go in even stronger. This will be metal anyway, so I don't have to do it on this. On the back here, this outside thing is gonna be green, and then I will do it on this thing here, and then the engine will be bronze, and the outside ring will be silver metal, so I don't have to do anything on there. And I think the casing on the weapon I will do also in the same color. Oh, that was maybe a little bit much, but whatever. It's too late to, or is it? No, can still remove some of it. And then where else is gonna be green? Maybe this part down here, but this is pretty dark anyway, so I will leave it like that. Yeah, that's the first one dry brushed up. So I can go to the next one. Same here. This is a pretty quick process, but I think it adds to the model when you look at it when it's finished in the end, that it has a little bit of more of an interest on the green parts, that it's not just a uniform color. And the wash will add to that effect as well in the end. So I really like it. And it's pretty quick. And I could do that with the airbrush too. That would be more like of a nice smooth transition. But honestly, it's Death Guard. They don't need a smooth transition. They are dirty. They are moldy and dirty, stinky. They don't need smooth transitions like loyalist corpse worshippers would do. So suck on this, Emperor. Can even do some patterns here, like you can do like a little bit of a pattern that is like this. I don't know. Go nuts. It's chaos. We're allowed to be crazy. This shrimp body here will be painted in Buckman's Glow. Body is painted. And now I will also paint Buckman's Glow into these little holes here. So after the washing stage it will look like rust. Maybe just a little bit here. Now I paint Warp-Lock bronze on selected bits of the model, like the housings of the engines here. And then other stuff like these little plague sensor that are supposed to be like respirator filters. So for example the weapon barrels. Now paint all the other metal parts in lead belcher, like this crest up here with the spikes, the ring around here, the protective whatever that is ring, and then the little rivets here, for example, the little exhausts. You can hardly see this weapon casing here, but I'm painting that with Stormvermin fur. But I think it just looks better when it's a different color. Gives a little bit more contrast in that area of the model. Yeah, I'm gonna do that, and this is gonna be tricky here. This part, yeah, I have to lock in and get the camera out of the way to do this properly. Okay, now I put some Mephiston red on the cabling and stuff like that. So for example, this cable here. And the broken parts that are like the corrugated stuff that's shining through, I will paint that in Hashot Copper afterwards. Yeah, pretty messy there. I've been pretty messy here. It's alright. It's Nurgle. That's the cool thing. Who cares if it's messy or not? So, this is just the beauty of Nurgle. If you've committed a crime like converting something that doesn't quite fit, like a wrist on my Typhus model or something, just slap some Typhus corrosion over it, some slime, some blood, whatever. Just hide it, disguise it, and it's gonna work. Because the models are dirty, they have been fighting for thousands of years, they've been in the warp, there's stuff growing that you don't really want to know what it is. So it's just so cool to do that. And they don't have to be clean, they don't have to be perfect. They are just forgiving you all of those mistakes, and that's what I love about them. And that's why I have a big Nurgle army, and if there's any problem, I just slap something over it. There you go. Okay, next up, Hashot Copper. And I will paint this detail here. That's probably that's gonna take 2 coats because it's not covering as well, but I still love Hashot Copper. Yeah, I will definitely need 2 coats of that. I'll paint all of this. And I'll paint details like the cable where they are broken. The inside of it, I will paint Hashot Copper most of the time. Some of them I painted it with Bloat-Drones too to give some variety. But this will be Hashot Copper. Then this symbol here will just be Hashot Copper. Yeah, for example, this cable, it doesn't kind of not make sense that this is broken and there's some other cable inside and the outside is metal, but who cares? Yeah, I've filled out all these cables with the Hashot Copper, but there's just too many different cables, so I need some grays to paint all of them, like paint one of them here. So I will paint this one in a darker Skaven Bladinch gray. It's just to paint it in a color and not to be too distracting. I don't want this area of the model to be too busy because I want the center of attention to be in this area. So this has to just to be like blend in. Now I'm painting those spike keys here. Spikes. Painting those spikes with Steel Legion Drab. Next I'm grabbing some mood green and I'll paint the slime that's running down on the model everywhere. For example here on these skulls. And on the weapon here, there's the slime dripping down. Some other minor detail here is the tongue on that skull in the middle. I'll just paint over some Mephiston red. And the pox, I paint the pox with Avalanche Sunset. The next step is to wash the miniature with 50/50 Lamia Medium Agrex Earthshade. As always, I concentrate the wash more downwards to the miniature, and then I try to get less on top where the light would hit the miniature. I brush it down here. And I spread it around everywhere. Get in the little eye sockets of the skulls. And try to get less up here. Maybe I even brush it away with my finger like this. And I have to be quick with this step because if you forget an area and then the wash dries next to it, it looks a little bit patchy, but it's Nurgle, you know the deal. It's Nurgle. Nurgle completely forgives you those mistakes, you know. The Papa forgives. Papa forgives you. Papa loves you. Okay. No singing. I learned from my last video that when I sing, 5% of people immediately stop the video. I mean, I think 30% of people were still watching the video, and immediately after I sang in my second to last video, no, it was my last video. 5% of people quit the video. There was a big peak down, so maybe I shouldn't sing. It's unfortunate, but or is it worth it anyway? Is it worth for the 25% of people who stay after I'm singing enjoy the video so much more that it's worth getting rid of those people? Or not really getting rid, but them quitting because my singing is awful. I don't know. I'll probably not put this in the video anyway, so why am I even rambling? Well, first wash has dried, and now we do the same with Seraphim Sepia Lamium Medium again. This one is a little bit more on the reddish tint, you know. That gives a little bit of a more rusty feel to the miniature, and I really like that. And you can see I try to brush it off up here a little bit again. Brush it down there. Let it accumulate more to the bottom. But it's just a nice filter and gives the color a little bit more depth and gives the metal that really nice rusty air to it. And I just like it. Here, there you go. Now you know everything you need to know about this. And I try to do like the element, like the engine here first, so there's no like ugly seams between the dried wash. So I try to paint all of this with the wash so it can dry uniformly and doesn't have like that ugly seam to it. But it's Nurgle anyway, so what do you want from me? Okay, now a quick coat of Steel Legion Drab on the base. And I try not to hit anything on the miniature as best as I can. And not hit the base edge either. Then I just add some pure Agrex Earthshade all over the base. And then the next step is to dry brush it. First with Talon Sand, then with Karak Stone, and then with Ushabti Bone. And all of the skulls, they get an extra layer with white dry brush. And then to tone down the stuff that is around those stones, to make that darker, the ground itself basically, or the sand, I put another layer of Agrex Earthshade over that, and then that's pretty much the base done. If there's any like metal stuff on the base, I paint that in metal colors as well. But on these three, I didn't have anything, I think. And on this stage, one of them was battle ready, the base was done, everything, but the other two were just base coated, so I had to get them all three on the same level. And then next step, after it's battle ready, paint even more highlights on them. To really make those eye lenses pop, I use a really bright silver. This is Stormhost Silver from Games Workshop, and this will basically be overpainted with Spirit Stone Red. This is a translucent paint, and you can still see the silvery sheen through it, but it puts a red filter over it, and the red filter is also a little bit glossy, so it looks like a lens or some glass or something like that in the end. And I think that really makes the eyes of the miniatures pop, and it's a really easy technique. It's 2 steps, and sometimes I put a little bit Agrex Earthshade on the bottom of the lens to shade it in, and that's it. Man, it's a shame. I really like the ones with the open eyes much more, but I have used this faceplate here and you can hardly see that there's an eye underneath there. Maybe I should drill this one open. What can you do, eh? The miniature is already battle ready, but I don't like the eye, so I have to drill it out. So I clipped a little bit of the plastic away to make my drill more stable when I'm drilling into it. Problem was, this just didn't work, so I had to drill a little pilot hole with my
with my scalpel knife, and then I was able to drill into the eye, and then I put a new eye from one of the leftover faceplates into the socket, and yeah, I had an open eye lens as I wanted it. And just quickly primed the eye black and then painted the other colors over it, hashed copper, washed it quickly, then the silver over the eye lens, and then at the last step, the Spirit Stone red, and then a little bit of Agrax Earthshade on the bottom. And then the most time-consuming step started, edge highlighting everything. So the green was edge highlighted with Nurgling green, the copper stuff and the bronze stuff with hashed copper, and the silver gets a really bright edge highlight with Stormhost silver, and then stuff like the little toxic waste that's dripping down. The green stuff gets mood green, and then a little bit of fluorescent yellow over that to make it really toxic and radioactive looking. And the Evil Sun Scarlet is a really bright red that I use on those cables and everything that is red. Then the pox, they get a really nice Flesh gets yellow highlight. And the horns, I will just do 3 quick dry brush layers over them with the same as on the base, Talon Sand, then Karak Stone, and then Ushabti Bone. And sometimes if I feel like it, a little bit white on the tip, but I have not done that on these 3 miniatures. And then just some Nurgle's Rod. I added some Nurgle's Rod to the pipes that are on the base, so it looks like it is dripping down on the base there. And then the most important step on the end, to tone some of those really stark highlights on the metals down a little bit more. Nylak Oxide is the verdigris paint, and then Riser Rust to rust up everything that is that metal color. And that is really the step that ties everything together and makes the color really pop on the weapons, the bright oranges and the turquoise of the Nylak Oxide. And it gives you a really cool excuse to add some really bright colors to those dull metals. And I just love that step. And you can just go back and forth. If it's not enough here, then do some more, do some more, do some more. And then, of course, a really important step to add some foliage on the base. I have these nice little moss pads and little bushes, and then paint the base edges black, and that's it. Done. And this is my end result. I hope you liked them. Let's just enjoy what they look like in the end. My 3 Bloat-Drones with heavy blight launchers are fully painted, and for that nasty little combo you can do, currently the Lord of Virulence is already painted up as well, and they can wreak havoc on the battlefield soon. But I have a lot more Death Guard to paint, and if you want some more Death Guard to watch, you can click that video here, or subscribe. Why not do both? You know, click the frog. Click the frog. And see you next time. Goodbye.